Hello, everyone. I'm Allison Merker Garner, and I am the creator of Musical Minds. Welcome. So, this video is an overview of my approach and my practice toward well being. So, in MAP, which stands for Mindset, Approach, and Practice, the mindset that I use comes from all sorts of traditions. I have training in Alexander Technique, Primal Alexander Technique, Feldenkrais, somatic therapies, sensory motor therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, which is a more mindset hypnosis approach, interpersonal neurobiology and the MindSight method designed by Daniel Siegel, and mindfulness approaches, Tara Brach and Buddhist approaches and meditations. So in MindSight, my theory is it doesn't matter where you come from. The truth is the same. In other words, if we are being mindful, if we are being fully present, if we're being the kind of person that exudes calm, as it were, we're able not only to be aware of what's going on inside us, sensations, feelings, emotions, thoughts, but also what's going on around us and how the two relate to one another. Mindsight or mindset involves the ability to be in the moment. It doesn't mean you're always going to be calm. It doesn't mean you're always going to be zen. What is it? Somebody said, well, I thought I'd be all zen and everything when I'd walk out on stage. No, we're human beings. And to ignore what we're feeling and thinking and sensing really doesn't serve us, does it? Yet we do believe that if we think everything will protect ourselves from all that messy stuff, that's harder to get a grasp on. So here's my philosophy. If we learn mindset, and I approach it a number of different ways so that you can find the approach that resonates with you and works for you and makes sense to you. If you have that, then you're capable of doing anything you want. And that's where my work comes in. Because my work sets up the mindset and we do the practicing of the mindset. But the real work is being able to bring it into our lives, into our playing, into our teaching, and into our being a parent or being a partner, being a colleague. This is where we need it. It's not a separate thing. Or if it is, it's not helping us. Or if we're just simply finding calm and that's all it is, that's not helping us either, because most of the time we're feeling something, we're thinking something, right? It's this, right? Through a day. So when we approach something, we approach it by recognizing it. We approach it by allowing it, not ignoring it. I feel angry. I feel nervous. I'm experiencing anxiety, depression, grief, whatever it is. We're experiencing what we're experiencing somatically, that means in our bodies, as a certain sensation. It can be pain or tension or just, certain emotions have a feeling to them, knot in your stomach, or your heart rate increases, or you can even feel a little nauseous if emotions are intense. And our thoughts can bring those up as well. We can think something and then boom, we're in a state of being from that thought. I'm no good at this. I can't do this. And what is it? It makes your body feel heavy, doesn't it? It makes you feel kind of icky. You don't feel good with that thought. So if you start to recognize and allow that information to come up for you, then you have a whole lot more information to use to have agency over it. So let's say we've done a mindset exercise or a meditation, any of the things that I have on other videos that you've gotten from class. And you've done that and you've practiced those things. Then you get into a situation like you're going to play a performance, or you're going to teach that difficult student, or you're talking to that student's parent who is very demanding. How do you bring that mindfulness, that awareness and recognition, and then allowing that, being a little curious about it? Oh, I wonder why I feel that way. All right. And exploring it a little bit. How do you bring that into play? How does that help? Well, first of all, you stop having an expected outcome. If you're somebody that is worried about performance, you stop the thought that it has to be perfect, or that you're going to measure its success based on how many notes you got in tune, or how good your rhythm was, or if you didn't get messed up. You remove that. That is not going to assess the success that you have in that performance. No longer is going to be calibrated in that way. That's a freedom right there. If you are having a conversation with a difficult person and you have the expectation that it's going to end up a certain way, good, bad, or indifferent, then you're limiting the possibility that it will end in an agreement. I'll say that again. If you have an expectation, you're limiting the possibility of it ending with an agreement. So this mindset work is tricky stuff, because we think that we can have a meditation and then be able to have more agency over our lives and not feel as upset all the time, or nervous, or whatever it is we don't like. And that's not true. So my work begins when we've gotten the mindset and we've created that space for positive change or transformation. It begins there, and we start the approach necessary to affect the change that we want. What does that look like? Well, if it's performance related, we start to look at the things you don't like and the things you do want to experience in your performance, and ways we can practice. Here's the approach and the practice. This is where we can practice using a certain type of approach to get what we want to experience in that performance. It's not an end game. We're not saying it's going to be perfect. We're saying we want to have fun. We're saying we want to be easy. We want to be able to connect with our audience. So it's just a shift in what's important to us and serving that. And we actually have choice in that. We can actually make that happen just by how we practice and how we approach that performance. So here's another example in practice and approach. Or approach and practice at one kind of, they're not linear, they kind of work together with the mindset, but I like to present it more as a linear thing because it's easier to get your mind around. So we have mindset, approach, and practice. If we were teachers and we were dealing with a student that was dysregulated or in some way difficult, I hear a lot from teachers, a really, really young child that can't sit still is one, or talks back, or, is in some way not cooperative. What do you do with that? Well, we can have the mindset of, I'm calm, I know what I'm feeling, and I can take care of that, and I can be present in the moment, and I can stay, regulated myself for this child. And that's hugely important. If you just do that, that's a big thing. If you take that further and you put that into an approach, how do you approach that child? Well, what if you took all the things you're doing for yourself toward that kid? What if you recognized their behavior? You allowed it to be, instead of trying to stifle it or cut it off, you allowed it some expression so you could get some curiosity and figure out where it's coming from. Oftentimes with little kids, it has to do with safety. They're putting everything in their mouths. Why are they doing that? Well, they're reverting to infantile behavior because they're orienting, because they're feeling unsafe. They're in a new environment, or they're feeling expectation, or whatever it is. It's their way of self-soothing. That's not intended to hurt you. It's to help them. They're trying to help themselves. So just taking a moment and allowing the behavior long enough to be able to come up with, oh, I think that's where that might be coming from. Then you can explore the options of practice. Then you can start saying, okay, so if that's really what's behind the behavior, that's what I'm going to connect with. I'm going to do things that make that child feel more safe and explore those. And that's going to address the behavior. And then we can actually learn something and have a lesson. So the approach and practice go more deeply into the mindset so that it is applicable to every day. And of course, that's going to be unique to every single person. That's not going to be the same. So when I get into approach and practice with musicians and teachers, I'm having a one-on-one session with them because I want it to be right for them. I want them to discover what it is that is behind something and what they can do and what they can achieve and what they can think through as a possibility for them to make that work for them in a way that's supportive of their well-being. So that's going to be different with everyone. Mindset's pretty universal. That's why I do a lot of mindset related classes or informational kinds of classes on what is imposter syndrome or what can we do in performance anxiety. There's some general understanding things that we all have that we can all relate to and do. But then it gets pretty individual. And that's as I say, where my work begins. That's where I start to take up where a lot of mindfulness and mind body classes leave off. Have you ever taken a class and said, wow, this is really transformative? Oh my goodness, this is just amazing. This is just amazing work. And then you go home and you think, now what? I've done that in so many different classes. I've gone to workshops where I've been really inspired by the information that's being taught. And, I think, oh, I can't wait to use this in my teaching or in my playing or, and then I get home and I think, oh, I don't know how to connect it. It's really cool stuff, but it's kind of in its own container over here, and it doesn't relate or link to me. That's a problem. That's what I address. So that you can make those associations and integrate it and rewire your neural system in the ways that are sustainable for you, supportive of you, and you can continue to grow because you know how. You know how to talk to yourself. You know your way of thinking, you know your way of being, you know where you come from, and you love that and you have compassion for that. You know it better than anybody. So how can you nurture that into the next stage of growth where you are more than you were in whatever area you're interested in? And of course, once you do it in one area, it affects all the others. Your playing improves. But you're now a better teacher. Oh, and look at that. You coached a little bit better on that call. And then you're communicating better. And oh my goodness, I'm starting to grow in all areas. That's what we want. And if you just, I guide you and support you and offer all these things that I've learned that I can use to help you discover that in yourself. So you're not dependent on anyone but you to continue that growth. That's what I want for you. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit what I do and the kinds of issues I work with and the kinds of approaches and practices that I use to bring that to you. So you can bring that to yourself. Thank you for listening.